Hello everyone, myself Shubham. In the previous video, we talk about introduction of programming language. So in today, let's talk about the types of programming language. So here we can see that there are the types of programming language, which are procedural programming language, object-oriented programming language, scripting programming language. So let's talk about the procedural programming language. So, as we say that procedural programming language is a type of programming language that has a set of instructions and statements. Or we can also say that it specifies a series of well-structured steps and procedures that must be executed in a certain order to accomplish desired output. So we can say that it is a well-structured, okay, well-structured set of statements. It is a well-structured set of statements. So we can say that the examples, okay, examples like Fortran, okay, Basic, Pascal, and we can also say that Algol. Okay, so this type of procedure programming language basically used for numeric and scientific calculation. As we already said that it is a well-structured set of statements. So in this, we can say that in this type of procedural programming language, there are no rules for a access specifier. No rules for. So we know that for access specifiers like private, public, protected, default, specifier. So like public, private, public, okay, public, private, public, private, protected, and default. So there is no set of rules for procedural programming language. And another thing is that it does not have the proper way of hiding the data. It means that it is a less secure. No way of hiding the data. That means it is less secure. So let's talk about the object-oriented programming language. So we already know that what is object-oriented language. All are familiar with object-oriented language in the modern world and today's world. It has a nice scope of object-oriented language. We can also say that in the object-oriented programming language such as Java, Python, C++. Okay, so the type of programming language which is divided into small parts called as objects. Okay, so we can also say that in this object-oriented language. Okay, we all know about in this okay object-oriented language. In this object-oriented language, we are all familiar with its scope, like encapsulation, encapsulation. Okay, another one is inheritance. Another one is abstraction, and third one, last one, fourth one is we can also say that the fourth one is uh, encapsulation, and the last one is polymorphism. Polymorphism. So let's talk about the encapsulation. What do you mean by encapsulation? In short terms, let's talk about in short terms. We will cover the later topic for object-oriented programming language. So we can say that encapsulation. Okay, encapsulation is defined as the encapsulation is defined as a hidden data. Okay, hidden data, hidden data. And we can also say that inheritance, as we know that inheritance is inherits. Okay, it inherits. Okay, sorry for this. It inherits another class for the properties of another class, or you can say that for the parent class, the properties of child class to the parent class. So what do you mean by abstraction? All know about the abstraction, sorry to say that, abstraction. So abstraction, sorry to for the inconvenience. Okay, so abstraction, we can say that hiding the certain detail and showing only essential data to the users. Okay, showing only the essential data to the user. Okay, let's talk about the polymorphism. Polymorphism, we can say that polymorphism is the many forms, many classes that are related to each other by inheritance. Many forms, okay, many forms, one class that are related to each other by inheritance. So we also know that there is the use of SS specifiers, like you can say that which are public, private, protected, and default. We can also say that object oriented programming, it is more secure than and procedural programming language. Okay, so let's talk about the scripting programming language. So we can say that this used to automate the repetitive task, manage dynamic content, or support the process in a larger application. Such scripts like the scripting language like VBA, okay, VBA, Python, JavaScript, yeah, PowerShell. So VBA, you can say that VBA is a Visual Basic for application. Okay, so let's talk about the function programming language. So we know that the function programming language is specially designed to handle symbolic computation and list processing application. So function programming basing is based on the mathematical functions. So we can also say that in the function programming language, okay, the languages like Python, okay, Python, okay, or you can say that Clojure, Clojure, Maskell, etc. Okay. So we talk about the function programming language. Back to our topic. Okay. So these are the high level other languages like high level and low level programming language, front end back end programming language, interpreted and compiled programming language. So if we talk about the front, let's start from the front end and back end programming language. So we know that the front end and then back end programming language specially used in the websites. When we designed our websites and when we deploy our website on the hosting web in the hosting, or you can say that on the internet, so there is a main source used by the front end and back end programming language. So let's talk about the high level and low level programming language. Let's start from the high level and low level programming language. So low level programming language. Okay. So in low level programming language, these are the machine friendly low level programming language. This is a machine friendly programming language, and it also needs more memory usage. More memory usage. Okay. So let's talk about the higher level programming language. These are the humans friendly. These are the human friendly programming language, and it also requires less memory as compared to the low level programming language, and it also needs low memory. So let's talk about the front end and back end programming language. So as we know, front end, when we make our website or when we develop our website, front end language, and back end language. So we know that in front end language like HTML, CSS, JS, React, CSS, and other user interface, like we can also say that these are used for the user interface. Okay, user interface. As I told earlier, as examples are HTML, CSS, JS, that is JavaScript. Okay, JavaScript, React, and etc. So in the backend language, we can say that backend languages like Java, Python, C sharp, okay, C sharp, and other, which are compatible with the database, which are compatible with compatible with, with database. As we know that SQL, MySQL, etc. SQL, SQL, MySQL, and etc. So let's talk about the interpreted and compiled programming language. Interpreted, 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 and compiled programming. As we remember, what do you mean by interpreted and compiled programming language? Interpreted and compiled programming language. So we can say that in interpreted compiled language, every line of the statement is interpreted line by line. Every statement is, okay, every statement is executed. So we can say that we can say that every statement is executed line by line, or we can say that example, okay, can example can be python, example python language. Okay, in the compiled programming language, so we say that the compiled language is type of the programming language, or we can say that it makes faster to execute. It means that we have to build a code and then we have to compile the code. So way that it is the faster, it is a faster and it is helps to convert the entire program into a machine code and helps to convert the code into machine. Example, let's talk about the example. C language, C++, C++, Java, etc. So guys, uh, so today we talk about the types of programming language, which are procedural, object-oriented, scripting, and function programming language. And we also talk about the some of the programming languages like low-level programming language, higher programming language, front-end programming language, back-end programming language, interpreted programming language, and compiled programming language. So guys, if you like this session, please share, subscribe the channel Shubham Arora. Thanks. Thanks for